And we are live. It is not Monday Madness with Moose, but we have a Moose sighting, folks. It's Verizon earnings day, fresh off the heels of AT&T earnings. Now we got the big red carrier. They're doing their thing. Moose, a lot of negative sentiment, man.
Lots of negatives today. Lots of negatives. Yeah.
I did the video earlier, just kind of like scratching the surface of, how the quarter went for them. And, there's a lot bad. There are a couple of bright spots, man, but there is quite a bit of obstacles, downside. I just sent out a tweet actually not so long ago. Verizon Consumer Group is bad at consumers. Uh, Verizon business side is much more effective, seemingly, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the fixed wireless access continues to be a strength. The business side continues to be a strength. Those may be the only strengths. All right, so we'll cover all the good, the bad, and the ugly in tonight's show deep dive. I would like to acknowledge something though. I believe Moose was calling for these days to come about a year ago. The precipitous downfall of Verizon Consumer Group. I think Moose called this. He was just a year early, right? And big shout out to Relafub, the newest member here on the channel. Thanks for becoming a member and supporting us. I see Stacy. I see David. Joe is in the house. Jason is here. We got Big Brad. We got Gellert. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming out and hanging with us tonight. Ryan is here. Jaime's in the house. We got Mr. O. And we got Craig, TJ. I think that's everybody, man. Welcome to the show, guys. And for those watching this on replay, #replay crew. Leo Gaiman in the house. Thanks for coming through, man. And we know you're a member, man. We appreciate you. Jason D as well. Those are our members. #members. All right, Moose. I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share, and we're going to pick this apart. And let's call a spade on all these things. Let's be objective. Let's be tough on them. I think Verizon deserves that, right? They deserve to be scrutinized. Yeah. Only Mike West in the house. Lulu Ruru is in the house. Trex is here. Okay. Starting first, a little bit of the financial piece. Okay, Verizon's profits are declining, Moose. Pricier plans have caused subscribers to leave. Go ahead, Moose. Jump in, man.
We've been seeing this for many, many months now. And inflation, the economy has accelerated the decline of the once mighty Verizon. We have done the analysis, right, Sneed? We've looked at the market share. We've looked at different areas around the United States. And consumers are leaving Verizon at an unprecedented rate. And it's been like this since 2019, right? It started in 2019 where you started seeing the decline. However, now the decline is several percentage points, right, per month, per quarter. So, as you mentioned earlier on the show, in the intro, I predicted that this would happen, where the clock will start for Hans, CEO of Verizon, Vestberg, when revenue's down, earnings per share is down, when the financials take a hit, that is when the clock starts. Because now you are on the clock to improve those numbers, sustain those numbers, and nobody has called him out on the blasphemy that he's talking about. I listened to the CNBC interview from this morning, and he continues saying that there's traffic in retail stores. How can you possibly say that there's traffic in retail stores when you barely scratched 8K net ads on the consumer side?
Well, they didn't get 8,000 net ads on the consumer side. The total net adds, consumer and business, came out to plus 8,000.
Oh my God!
Moose, hold on, Moose. Let's clear this up, dude. You got to know this, man.
This is even worse than what I was
Yes,
thinking. God,
yes.
hold on. Keep going.
Okay, so Verizon had a plus 8,000 total customers. They lost 189,000 consumer customers. They gained in the business side. So it compensated for the losses on the consumer side. That's how it came out to a net positive. The consumer was still almost 200,000 lost.
Wow.
Moose, the churn was over 1%.
Yeah.
You can't have a churn over 1% and then maintain share.
I'm looking at the presentation now. Give me 1 second here. Yeah. It's
so the business is still a winner, Moose. The consumer is the problem.
Yeah, you're right. Negative 189,000 consumer net loss, and you're right. That's the only thing keeping it afloat. But I'm telling you this right now, Cha-Cha. The business is not going to continue keeping them afloat when you have T-Mobile at their heels. You know, the Boeing is, like I said yesterday, is the first domino of many dominoes.
Yeah, the Boeing thing is huge because that's a huge company. It's a lot of lines. What do you think? You think Verizon loses maybe 20, 30, 40,000 lines out of that deal? And it goes straight to T-Mobile?
For the Boeing? Yeah, I think that from the folks that were on the Verizon, they're probably going to either pick, 80 to either between 70 to 80% AT&T, and then the rest will go to T-Mobile. And
so
something
we could
interesting.
Safely say that at least 10,000 lines going to T-Mobile?
Oh, easily, yeah, 10 to 15. And T-Mobile is going to be very flexible with Boeing. If they want an additional line, right, they could probably finagle the terms, right, because it's a wholesale. They're getting it at a wholesale rate since it's so many lines, right? It's not the same ones that you see on the website. But something interesting on page 7 of their earnings presentation that they reported to the street this morning, business is at 101% churn. Their consumers at 0.88 churn. And so the all-in is the 0.89, right, that they reported?
Yeah, but Moose, they're both bad. That's not Verizon numbers.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't do that. That's not a Verizon thing. And I want to give a shout out to Terrence. Seeing 5G plus everywhere from AT&T. Speeds are faster when I test. Yeah. Appreciate it, Terrence. Yeah, it's a big time boost to the network. Absolutely. Yeah, Moose, we're not used to this. We're not used to Verizon being in the 0.91% churn. Since when? This is unusual.
Cha-Cha, this is the new reality. Look at, and if you look at slide 7.
So, right? Moose, check this out. Here's how it's manifested itself. Here's how it hurts. Verizon's profits have fallen 23% because of price hikes that have resulted in customers leaving the company. The largest U.S. carrier said on Friday, today, they lost 189,000 monthly bill-paying phone subs on the consumer side. Additional charges in June, and those price hikes resulted in customers fleeing. Shares fell 6%, the lowest in over a decade, as financial chief Matt Ellis said higher prices for plans led to disconnections and warned the pressure would continue into the next quarter. Moose, Q4 is going to be like this.
I think it's actually going to be worse.
Oh.
Remember we were predicting negative 500,000? Right? You and I were talking that it was going to be huge.
I never predicted 500,000. I always felt like 200,000 was the ceiling. So, did you predict 500,000 lost?
I was getting told.
Oh, right, wow. Okay.
That I was getting told by my people that it looks so bad, terrible during the quarter because in the July, August months, right? it was closer to 300,000 net losses from consumers, but they gained slightly because of
I was gonna say, what do you think helped recently?
I think what helped recently was
iPhone sales.
the iPhone, but I don't think that it was anywhere close to T-Mobile and AT&T numbers of iPhone now, because remember this, guys. Verizon capped their promo this year at $800. They didn't go up to the 1,000. They are doing an approach. They're testing, I guess, an approach where whoever wants to take advantage of the promo can take advantage of it, but they're not going out of their way to match their competitors.
They're gonna regret that eventually. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. So Verizon's plans are expensive. I just tweeted out earlier. Verizon's most expensive plan is the only plan that's good, but it's the most expensive in the game. And then Verizon's entry plan is their only affordable plan, and it's the worst value in the game. Right? So no surprises. Wow, man. So here's what we have right now currently in the marketplace. If you're a customer in wireless, AT&T is competitive. They have discounts, they have value, they've got promotions. T-Mobile is competitive. They're the price leader of the big three. They've got a good Magenta MAX plan. If the network is good where you are, it's really fast, right? They do bundles with like fixed wireless access. So they have things that are highlights. Big Cable is competitive, Moose. Let's not deny that. All right. Xfinity, Spectrum, they have good rates. And they're bundling and all of that.
Right. And the new Spectrum thing this last quarter, you can get the 300
bucks.
Yeah, that's big, dude.
It really is, Moose. I'm glad finally somebody agrees with me, because $50 for a line of wireless and home internet is probably the best value you're going to get in the game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, any other carrier or bundle is going to be closer to $100.
I see a lot of people, by the way, now that you bring it up, they're doing the bundle without actually taking advantage of the line of service. They just want the bundle because it's so cheap compared to the
they're basically giving people a free line of wireless, right?
Exactly. Yeah. See, this is the other thing, that this is the exact same strategy that T-Mobile did for many years. I'm just going to give you a free line. It's free. Why not add it to your account?
But your margin's got to be good, though, in order to sustain that.
Well, I hope, right, that I need to look at the terms and conditions, because it may be for like new customers only, because it wouldn't make sense to me, this. I have several folks that use Spectrum right now, right? If I tell them to do that bundle, they'll be saving about $15 a month. Just because. Nothing's changed except Spectrum is giving them this bundle, right? For the fixed wire, or not fixed wire, the Spectrum mobile line. It wouldn't make sense to me economically for the from the company standpoint if that was the case.
Yeah, the SOFAC, the 12 months price, it goes up to $85 after the promotion. So 50 plus 35 for the line.
There you go. So for the first year? How long is it? 2 years?
12 months, I think. Yeah, so it's a 1 month promotion, and then you got to get on $85, which still isn't bad, Moose.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if you're
but the promotion is
yeah,
the promotion is where the value is for sure.
If you're gonna do the promotion just for the internet, and then I'm telling you, some people are not gonna even use that line because the promo's too good.
Yeah, Verizon's they're getting served in the consumer side. They lost 189,000 consumer. They added 197,000 business. puts them at a plus 8,000. So when it comes to business, they do well. Their net income fell to $5 billion. They are going to reduce annual costs of between $2 to $3 billion by 2025. Those are those cost saving measures, Moose. That means layoffs and team consolidation.
That's right. Layoffs are coming.
Yeah. I hope not that many people are affected by it, and those that are affected, I hope they can bounce back. But it's inevitable. It's going to happen. This is from frickin' readers, bro. You know? Like, readers is dropping bombs on Verizon right now. Right? So that's kind of like the quick and dirty of the bad, I suppose. And actually, you know what, Moose? Let's kind of take it there. Let's go to...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's go ahead and pivot to kind of like so like they're not profitable as they want it to be. Remember that was the thing, Moose? Margins, profitability, upsells, blah, blah, blah.
That's right.
Okay. So like, how do you explain this? Amid flagging profits, Verizon starts another cost-cutting program. Verizon ended a 4-year, $10 billion cost-cutting program last year. What they really did, Moose, is they focused on the Fiber One build and reorganization. They did a bunch of, what do they call that, man? The, where they buy out retirement early, severance packages.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of that stuff. They were able to save annual costs of $2 to $3 billion by 2025. That's going to be the plan moving forward. That's what the CFO is saying. Cipriani Tech, good to see you, man. Streamlining internal operations with automation and process enhancement. They're going to try to reduce people paying jobs, and they're going to try to automate stuff. Folks, the new Verizon Global Services Organization is a new team that's going to be headed by a former lawyer for the company. Which is just stupid. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to fix the company's problems. They know what they have to do. They just refuse to do it. Verizon reduced their headcount from 155,000 to 118,000 last year. Factors that are driving the cost cutting is the loss in profits, down 23%. Losing subscribers is the culprit for that loss in profits. So AT&T stock has jumped in the last 48 hours. Verizon stock has fell in the last 48 hours. T-Mobile continues to be the only company that is up in the market over the course of the last year. Really, the only bright spot for Verizon is the fixed wireless access and the network. The C-band build is pacing quite nicely. So, like, I guess on the positive side, we can kind of talk about the network, Moose. Can we agree that the network shines, bro?
From Verizon?
Yeah, in terms of, like, the build.
I mean, yeah, like we talked about, right? Phenomenal network. Largest network, whatever you want to say, right? I have an asterisk on that largest network now because, as you know, we will be getting a new total square miles, right, from FirstNet, aka AT&T, soon, right? How many square miles were added, right, in the quarter?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the issue is not the network in terms of availability. I believe that in some anecdotals, right, both you and Tyrone have been mentioning this. There's some folks that they don't get enough capacity in their specific areas because C-band hasn't been upgraded, right? Or the DAS has been upgraded, or the millimeter wave hasn't been added yet, right? So there's those specific examples. But from an overall standpoint, it's not like you're not getting service, right? Or you're not getting connected to service, right? I think 100% agree. It's price, man. It's price.
Well, so like the network piece, to kind of start with this one, Verizon officially covers 160 million people with C-band. the number is going to hit 200 million by the first quarter of next year. I think in and of itself, it's pretty impressive. AT&T is on track to hit 130 million by the end of this year. So that really only puts them back about 30 million pops. Keep in mind, Verizon started their network build preparations for C-band at the end of 2021. AT&T really didn't start cooking C-band until like the end of Q1 2022, right? So like all their C-band has essentially been this calendar year. So I think while AT&T took a while to kind of start, their pace is really fast. I mean, both have a pretty sick pace. I mean, Moose, you've heard my commentary on this. Okay, I've been saying this for several months, man. Back me up on this, Moose. I'm on the record for this.
Oh, yeah.
Verizon started preparing C-band upgrades last year at the end of the year, October, November, December. They had a tangible 5G UW build for C-band in January at launch. AT&T didn't have that. They didn't really start building their C-band until like March, April. And I told you in May, Verizon, while they are moving very fast, AT&T might be moving a little bit faster. But they started a little bit later. And the reason why this is important is because it gave Verizon the appearance that they're moving faster when in reality, they were just more preemptive. Right? They started building first. That's on AT&T though. And I've been speaking to people internally that are doing like the upgrades, right? So we're talking about the engineers, the tower crews, the installers. It's 100% connected to supply. I just want to say this. The people at AT&T that have been giving the public commentary at like investors conferences when they've been asked questions about C-band, they have lied through their teeth. AT&T did not have a secure position within the supply chain with respect to supply of 5G radios and antennas. They lied. It was clearly a supply issue. I reported this several months ago. You guys heard it from me directly. And as soon as that supply became substantiated and there was stock within warehouses and the crews got their hands on it, I saw 3.7 antennas and radios. 1 month later, I started seeing 3.7 and 3.4, both going up at the same time. Cleveland is not a special market. It is a microcosm of the national problems with supply chain. AT&T was absolutely subject to those supply constraints. They lied. They didn't want investors panicking. No other way to slice it. If you deny that, you're in denial. I can confirm supply was an issue for AT&T. They lied. The same person who lied about DoD being able to be used on older phones like the S21 and the S20 and the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 13, whoever that gentleman is over there at AT&T, that person lied or was terribly misinformed, which when you're in that position, you can't be. You have to be sharp as a tack. Okay, so that's on him. But I told you guys, and I said it then, when I started seeing the 2 antennas and radios going up, I knew the supply had stabilized. That is my explanation, my observation, my information. Okay? Now, those things are in the past. That is water under the bridge. AT&T is absolutely cooking. Moose, we could stick our neck out and say, based on the current pace, because AT&T has been able to upgrade so many of the tower sites with band 14 and modernize those sites, just like in the case of the tower site that serves the SMT HQ, AT&T is essentially getting to these sites, upgrading in a couple of days, and then they're on to the next site. Meanwhile, Verizon has left so many sites to rot. They have not been upgraded since band 13, or they got an AWS upgrade 5, 6, 7 years ago, right? They have to go there and spend a week or 2 weeks to upgrade sites. This is how AT&T might be able to close the gap and be right on par with Verizon. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. And we were calculating this, right? Because AT&T, because of FirstNet, right, has had to modernize every single baseband unit, right? And the racks and everything, right, is pretty much modular, right, to go from the current 4 antenna configuration to a possibly sometimes a 3 antenna configuration, or stick with a 4 configuration, but that 4th section in the middle right or middle left will have the 2 N77 antennas. It's very fast. Like I was telling you, right? Once AT&T goes into these rural Midwest states like Kansas, remember Kansas? Sorry, not Kansas, Nebraska, right? In 1 year and a half, the entire state went from only coverage in Lincoln and Omaha to the entire state in 1 year and a half. How long do you think that state is going to have C-band in every single site? Easily?
They'll upgrade them fast. Absolutely.
6 months. And the only thing that's going to delay them is traveling from one cell site to the other one, because they're so far apart. They're like 15 miles apart.
Look, I don't know how to say this without the thongs getting their panties in a bunch, but these are the facts. What T-Mobile did with the N41 build is commendable. I respect it. It's really impressive what T-Mobile did. T-Mobile has never built out any segment of their network as good as they have in the last 2 years. This is the best version of T-Mobile we've ever seen. But it does not change the fact that both AT&T and Verizon are outpacing T-Mobile's N41 build. It's just numbers, folks. No need to get your panties in a bunch. No need to get all bent out of shape about it. Oh, Sneed hates T-Mobile. That's not what this is. These are just facts. T-Mobile has had 2.5 gigahertz spectrum when they got ownership of all the Sprint assets. It was April of 2020. Let's give them a couple of months leeway. So let's say June of 2020. Folks, it is October, the end of October 2022. Moose, how many months is that, sir?
Cha-cha, we're approaching the 3-year mark of the merger. So it's been more than 2 years.
It's like 22 months, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time, man.
They're at 260 million pops. Okay, so this is a clear way to measure them. After a year, what'd they have, 100 million?
Yeah, we'd have to go back. Yeah, we'd have to go back to the earnings. But yeah, we could find that out in the stats and facts. By the way,
I know for a fact, Moose, that at October of last year, 2021, they had it was end of year last year, they had 160 million pops. Right? So like there are benchmarks. Like I even wrote down some of the numbers. Verizon's probably going to have 200 million pops in 1 year, folks. Q1 of this upcoming year, Verizon says they want to have 200 million pops. AT&T might be at 170, 180 million, 190 million. You can't do that without having fast-paced build. It's not because T-Mobile's not trying. It's because AT&T and Verizon have huge dedicated CapEx. Verizon is spending, what was it, Moose? 40 billion on C-band?
Oh yeah.
Plus 10 billion in CapEx for C-band. They're still spending 18 billion on the rest of the network. So $6 billion for capex for C-band this year, $2 billion last year, $2 billion next year, billions. AT&T spends 21, 22, 23 billion every year. It's not anybody hating on T-Mobile. It's just the facts that these companies are spending a lot of money to upgrade their networks with this really valuable spectrum that they paid for. T-Mobile acquired Sprint. That was expensive. They took on some debt, and then they built out the network. Commendable. They did a good job. They're working hard. But both AT&T and Verizon are building out C-band faster than T-Mobile was able to build out the N41. And I just want to throw this out there. There was no FAA blocking T-Mobile, delaying launches, complaining about altimeters, and there was no repack from satellite. T-Mobile didn't have to deal with any of that.
If there was no
Moose,
FAA situation,
literally, it is a small miracle that Verizon and AT&T have gotten to this point.
Yeah, I was about to say, if there was no FAA situation, if there was no repacking, and, well, this is what would have happened. Both AT&T and Verizon would have started deploying the C-band December of 2021. You know this, I know this.
Yeah.
You and I both know this because we saw the permits, we saw everything. The supply chain was ready to go in the fourth quarter of 2021. It was ready. But everything was put on hold indefinitely until this damn fiasco situation with the FAA and damn Buttigieg and all these people thinking that they have any jurisdiction on the FCC. Okay. Now, I will say this because we are very analytical people. Okay. We're talking about the stats and the facts. I do want to point out some stats and facts that T-Mobile had to endure, right? There were a significant amount of litigation against the merger, right? Latifah James, ridiculous AG from New York City saying you need a, right? You need a, it's stupid. You have to do X, Y, and Z for me in order for me to approve this. She didn't even enforce any of the conditions. CPUC, right? California Public Utility Commission, right? Mm-hmm. Are they going to be enforcing the 300 Mbps everywhere in California because they got it?
They have a right to. They made the agreement.
Exactly. And then people are going to be saying, "Oh, well, Sneed, the integration from Sprint to T-Mobile, it was too, it took forever, blah blah. The synergies, blah blah."
No. All these factors, Moose, that you're citing, absolutely fine. I'm with that. How about Verizon changing from Nokia to Samsung?
Exactly, same thing.
How about AT&T trying to spin off a conglomerate media fiasco for 5 years?
That's another thing that delayed, yeah.
I mean, those are all self-inflicted wounds. Real talk, bro. That's on AT&T. That's on Verizon. But we're just stating the facts. All this stuff was going on. Yeah, I'm going to remain objective. I'm like you, Moose. We got to call a spade, put it all out there.
Everything is on the table.
Absolutely. Everything is on the table. Absolutely.
These thongs think that there's a bias.
No.
Right? And unfortunately, when we start talking very straightforward facts and stats, their argument fails every time. Because the facts are, like you said, in a shorter period of time, they were able to match what T-Mobile is doing.
Moose, Sprint had 9 markets already launched with N41.
There you go.
I mean, there are so many things that, like, I don't know. I mean, closing a merger is no easy task. I'm looking at it like XYZ, all these different things. I mean, this is phenomenal. In my opinion, in my observation, Verizon's AWS build was very impressive. Right? It was the fastest thing we had seen up until T-Mobile's N41. But now we got 2 network builds that are even faster at the same time. And let's call a spade, Moose. The consumer wins. Nobody is more happy about the strength that T-Mobile has today Nobody's happier than me. As a consumer, I get to see these carriers at each other's throats for consumers, for customers, for business outside of Verizon, right? They don't give a damn for consumers. But AT&T fiercely competing, T-Mobile fiercely competing, cable is now competing in wireless. We're winning. Our networks are getting built out better, deeper, faster, right? With ferocity. There's fire and desire underneath these carriers that never existed before. We're happy.
And we got to say this right there. Hold on. Pin it on that one. Latifah James. I'm going to keep saying this until she's out of office because this is ridiculous. She made a point, Sneed, and you know this, what I'm about to say. She said, quote, if this merger goes through between Sprint and T-Mobile, we will not have competition in the United States anymore.
Yeah, she's wrong.
Unbelievable. This is the most hyper competitive we've ever been, and Dish hasn't even gotten off the ground yet.
Yeah. Well, check this out, Moose. You want to talk about competition? Let's talk about home internet and fixed wireless.
Yeah.
Okay, so T-Mobile is at 1.5 million fixed wireless access subscribers. Verizon just crossed 1 million fixed wireless subs today. Okay, so fixed wireless broadband or fixed wireless access, that is cellular for home internet, is the fastest growing business at Verizon. Consumer and business customers all combined now for 1 million customers. T-Mobile's got 1.5 million. Verizon added 234,000 fixed wireless access subs on consumer. They added, I think in consumers, it's 621,000 for fixed wireless access. The business side added 108,000 in the quarter. They had 88,000 added last quarter. They're now at 442,000 on the business side. So their consumer and business breakdown is pretty clean, right? What does it say here? It says 621,000 to 442,000. Okay, here's the diagram. Look at the growth, Moose. The footprint's growing. The consumer net adds are growing. Dude, fixed wireless access is here, dude.
Now we should say a spade, call a spade, right? With the more growth of fixed wireless access, right, FWA, between T-Mobile and Verizon, unlike a cellular connection, a mobile connection, your cell phone, your iPad, your watch, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is not going to be a continuous amount of usage compared to a home network. Right, we talked about this earlier. Right now, right, your family's probably utilizing some type of streaming service. Right. You are on a live stream, right? And there's all these other devices connected at a time.
Surveillance.
Right, surveillance, yeah, all that. The cloud, everything's being uploaded, and there's going to be some download, right? Constantly, boom, 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 right? Up and back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. In a mobile connection, you only do small pings, right, to the tower, right? If you're not in data mode, if you're not using your data, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you are in data mode, that's when it's actually you're pulling from the tower. But then when it's done, it ceases, right? It's not like, done. Right, yeah. Exactly. Same thing with like when you're buffering a video, right? It's downloading the video, but in a live stream, like a live TV situation, it's constant, right? It's
a continuous connection, right?
Correct. So we have been getting told by many engineers, many folks, that this thing is just going to require more and more and more capacity, upgrades from the user equipment, right? The router at the customer's house, right? The premise, and upgrading the mmWave and the C-band antennas in the future, right? To not just allow more capacity, 200 megahertz, etc., right, of the C-band. But I was saying this and people just laughed at me. Remember what I'm about to tell you. A long time ago when the auction for C-band closed, I said, even with 200, even 300 megahertz that almost to 300 megahertz that Verizon gained, they will get congested. Remember I said that? That it's a finite amount of spectrum. It will become congested at a certain period of the day.
Yeah.
And guess what? N41, 100 plus megahertz here in Southern California, it is congested in many different places because they did not follow the SMT path of adding small cells to help your N41. I'm telling you, yeah.
In rural America, this might be less of an issue. In suburban America, small cells are in order. In urban, millimeter wave is in order. Those things are a must, man. I mean, these operators are eventually going to densify with C-RAN, small cells, millimeter wave. But the fixed wireless access, I feel, it's just very early for them to be growing so fast. But it goes to show you the venom, dude, that people have towards cable. They're just dying to get away, Moose. They're dying to get away from the grips of cable's mistreatment, their explosive pricing, their poor customer care, the poor infrastructure, the lack of performance, and trouble with uplink. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
if we had more fiber options, Moose, this would be a non-issue. The only reason fixed wireless exists is because those people can't get fiber.
And that's
calling a spade a spade.
And that's something that we got to talk about, right? The rise of fixed wireless is because it's so difficult, and because a lot of these cable companies have paid the city councils, they have monopolized a lot of cities so that it's only them and that's it. And also, we got to call out these governments, these local governments that are delaying improvements simply because they don't like the aesthetic of what the box is going to look like on the street level.
The whole like NIMBY situation or whatever.
Right. Like, like for example, fiber, right? If you don't have poles, electrical poles to your home or on your street, you have to dig, right? There are some cities, Cha-Cha, that they don't want any visible telecommunications equipment whatsoever. That to me is unrealistic.
It's unrealistic. There's no way.
During the peak pandemic, right, March, April, and May of 2020, these cities were some of the worst connectivity-wise, and they had constant outages from their cable providers because the demand was so out of control, they could not keep up, right? Perfect example, San Marino, California. They need to be called out because they have some of the richest people living there, and the city does not allow them to have any other provider other than Spectrum. Frontier has been asking, AT&T Fiber has been asking. Damn, even Verizon Fios at the time when Frontier, didn't buy out them, they even asked. All denied because the aesthetic. There was going to be more fiber lines from the very little electrical poles that they have in the city, number one. Number two, it was going to be extremely expensive. It was going to cause a lot of noise to dig all these roads and sidewalks and pavements, right, to put the fiber underneath. It was a shit show. This is ridiculous. If I was a resident of a city in 2022, Sneed, and I know you would do this, what I'm about to say. If I was in a city and I lived in a city that prevented me from getting the best possible telecommunications, I'd do one of two things. Number one, I would go to the local meeting and I would call them out and I would have that video go viral because people would make it go viral. There'd be a change.org petition. And two, if that doesn't work, I'd leave. I'd relocate. When I was living in New Jersey for 2 years, there was only two options. a half-baked Fios product because they never were allowed to upgrade the distribution box. So the max fiber you could get was 100 by 100, which was ridiculous because at that point it was already a gig speed, right? Or cable from Cablevision, aka Optimum, right? And the cable was not bad, but it just wasn't anything new. You get what I'm saying? I've been used to cable, right? All my life until the move to Dallas, the fiber rolling in hot, 1 gig speeds like nothing, 5 gig speeds now like nothing, 10 gig next year. Game changer. And you can tell when stuff loads, right? When you load a website, when you download a game, like the new Modern Warfare 2 campaign launched, yesterday, right? On cable, it took several minutes to download, even at a gig speed. But with fiber, on a 5 gig connection, it downloaded within seconds. 16 gigs like no problem. So this is the disparity we have in America. We've talked about this endlessly. We can continue to talk about this endlessly, but you're right. Fixed wireless, going back to the fixed wireless piece, has changed the game because now you're coming in at a huge drop in price compared to cable because they were a monopoly. That's why, like we talked about earlier in the previous segment, the bundles are starting to come in. I'm going to give you the base internet and I'm going to give you a free line of wireless and it's going to be $50 flat, done.
Crazy good price.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Moose, you've been vindicated, sir. Please check the comment up on the screen.
Wow.
Confirmed from Aiden. N41 at 100 megahertz in Boston's Brigham Circle. Completely congested and clogged. Average speed is 140 by 20. I wouldn't call that completely congested. Average at 140 by 20 it's fine. But I'm guessing that if there's an extra load for some kind of event, if they don't have millimeter wave available, they're going to be in trouble. Moose, how common is that common in LA? SoCal?
The one that I have, anecdotals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've driven in many places here in Southern California. And in the areas that there's only one sector looking at a shopping mall, and primarily, like, as you know, right, the demographics are Hispanic. The majority of Hispanics in the LA market are on T-Mobile. And if there's only one sector of N41 looking at a shopping mall, that is where you will see the super congestion that I've never seen in my life before, right? When I was working for T-Mobile back in 2016, right, I mentioned on a previous podcast the example of unusable capacity where the entire thing is completely overloaded. You can't even make a 911 phone call, right?
That's crazy.
And that's when there's people will know this that live in the Southern California market, even in NorCal or even San Diego now. The 626 night market is infamous for this because there's only one sector looking at the actual area of where this night market. Imagine a fair, right, Chacha? Imagine a fair where there's like different vendors, street vendors, and you primarily go there for food, right? For the food options that they're going to be selling there.
Right.
But this sector was completely overloaded. 17,000 connections, continuous, for 5 to 8 hours straight.
The network was tanking?
No, the network was completely unusable. You couldn't send a text message. You couldn't do any data. You couldn't do any calling because it would drop immediately. So what we had to do, right, was separate out the spectrum bands. So people, instead of having carrier aggregation, when you isolate the carrier bands, it actually had better performance. But let me put that 17,000 continuous in an N41 situation. Okay. Even with N41, when I visited the 626 recently, the 626 night market, N41 was not able to keep up. What they needed to do was add temporary cows in order to keep up with the demand. That's how
Just to keep
serious this
using the
is.
cells.
What happened?
Just to split up the cells.
Right, to split, to carve out, if it's not 17,000 people. You remember that idea that I told you, that term called hidden traffic?
Yeah.
The only reason why I'm saying 17,000 because that was the maximum capable from the baseband unit of that one sector. It could have been 50,000. I had no idea.
It got cut off at 17,000.
Right. It got cut off at 17. So when you have additional sectors looking in an area, you can slice off and load balance. That's the correct term, right? You can load balance the users. Okay, I'm going to use a further macro away for these folks in this area. And then the ones closer, I'm going to split the main macro that's looking at it. I'm only going to allow, hypothetically, voice traffic, right? Voice traffic on the LTE bands, or like the sub 6 minus N41, and then everything else is on N41. That's how they think about it from an engineering standpoint, right? It's not you just put N41 on a cell site and pray to God that it will offload. That's not good engineering. But anyways, I digress. There's so many more topics to cover.
Damn, Moose. I mean, yeah, they're all legitimate concerns. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like fixed wireless access isn't situational. I mean, but I think 4 to 5 million customers served for Verizon. I think it's doable and manageable if you got C-RAN and you got millimeter wave. For T-Mobile, they're going 7, 8, 9 million. That's going to be tougher. They're really going to need the small cells. AT&T doesn't have to worry about any of that. AT&T is not going to put fixed wireless traffic on its mobile network. So that is just not going to be an issue for them. Man, I don't know, man. We did a pretty good job, Moose. Did you want to answer some questions from the nation?
Oh, yeah. And by the way, Chacha, the other thing that people need to realize, right? We talked yesterday about C-band, the first ever deployment in a stadium, right, of C-band came from AT&T at AT&T Stadium, right? That we know of. Key asterisk there, right? That we know of in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Could be that Verizon did this very quietly at, MetLife, or who knows, right? Who knows, right? But if you have an event, Chacha, that for a fact, every year like clockwork, it's going to be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. For example, the fairs, the state fairs, or the county fairs, right, of your state. And there's a consistent fairgrounds that they use. Why would you rely on just one macro? I would put an outdoor DAS, or I'd put small cells in as many places as I can. That's number one suggestion. Magenta, thongs, okay? Second suggestion is split sectors. What's a split sector, you might ask? Well, imagine you're taking one stream of water and you're splitting it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. There's this really weird shaped antenna that looks like a ball that they use for, big concert events, right? If it's an outdoor event, that it splits the signal 8 times. So it has much better propagation, and it's able to offload the macro in a much better way, right? Because you have 8 lanes just from that CAL, right? The cell on wheels. That's another option. But the third option, and more importantly, is you just got to be prepared, right? You can't just be relying on one macro. Like T-Mobile is using one macro for the entire AT&T Stadium. So the only time that you're able to get any type of signal, and by the way, I was there. I had a T-Mobile SIM. Thank you so much, Chacha Carlos, for the hookup for that. It was completely unusable when you were close to the field level. but you were able to get signal if you were all the way in the bleachers at the very top where there's sniper racks up there, you know? Jerry Jones literally has snipers up there. If people get crazy, they'll kill him. I'm telling you this. Anyways, my point is this. Just by slapping on an N41 on a macro is not the end all be all. You need millimeter wave. You need to get the C-band eventually once it clears, and you need to increase your backhaul. And by the way, Chacha, remember we've been investigating this, aggregating the 3.7 and 3.45, right?
Right. Yeah.
Can you imagine once AT&T goes to 50 gig backhaul, how much power that's going to bring, man?
I mean, they only got to get to whatever the multi-gig backhaul. That's all they really got to do for now. I mean, it's going to be a few years before you're looking at a 50 gig backhaul requirement.
Oh yeah, it's going to happen.
Moose, I just posted a poll. If you want to go ahead and get your votes in, everyone, which carrier gets to 200 million pops of C-band first? You have AT&T, the big stank, or Hans, aka Gator Shoes, Verizon. Make your pick. So that'll answer like the public perception, I guess, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, 200 million pops, man. It's no joke. Big Rubes, appreciate the super chat, sir. Why is Verizon unwilling to change? Hans is blind. Great content. Love you guys. Hello from Arizona. Appreciate you, Big Rubes. Thanks, man. So why is Verizon unwilling to change? The one thing that we can actually say about Hans, he is clearly committed to his vision. He is a man of conviction. Right or wrong, which we think he's wrong, but right or wrong, he's sticking to his plan. And he's going to ride it out till the wheels fall off. So I can respect him for being true to his word and believing in what he's doing. Although I think his process is incorrect. You know. I don't know. Is he blind? I don't think so. I mean, he clearly sees market share numbers. He clearly sees churn rates. I just think he's not willing to sacrifice margins for any type of growth. And we've been seeing this for a couple of years manifest itself, and now it kind of is like coming to a T. You know. So thanks, Big Rubes. Appreciate you.
And by the way,
we got 40 votes currently. Let's see if we can get let's see if we can get to another 50 or so votes. So that way we can have a nice body. I do see 108 people here in the live stream. So guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button. That helps out the channel. If you appreciate the content. There's lots of ways to interact with us. You can, chat in the live chat. You can comment in videos. You can share videos. You can become a member to support. You can join us on Patreon. There's lots of different ways to do it. So those are different things you could do. All right, so we got 43 votes, dude. Hey, Bob.
Yeah, this is very interesting.
Yeah, we'll see what the people say. And by the way, here with the last few minutes, if you guys would like to ask any questions, me and Moose will field them, and we can kind of discuss this. Whatever you guys want to ask as we close out the last remaining segment of the show. So, Moose, man, AT&T killed it. Verizon, strong in fixed wireless access, strong in business, weak in consumer. Financials are rough, right? What do you think T-Mobile's numbers are going to look like, man?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, Chacha. Very, very interesting. I know that they're going to hit 1 million, net everything, right? So not just phones, but also the extras like the watches and all that stuff. I don't think that they will be more. It'll be very surprising if they are more than 708, because this whole year they've been trailing. You know what I'm saying? What was so special about this year, this particular quarter, is that signaling? Here's something that I was thinking about: is if that does happen, that it's more than 708K, right?
Okay, so we got a super chat from Big Rubes. Super Bowl will be in Arizona this year. Let's see how Verizon does. Appreciate you, Rubes. Yeah, they better get that millimeter wave going. AT&T will probably need some support there too with FirstNet and all that, and T-Mobile will need it as well. Do you think over or under at 600,000, Moose, for the net ads for T-Mobile?
Over 600,000, yeah.
Okay, over or under 700,000?
Ooh, it's gonna be close. I would say they're gonna be under 700,000, but
So 650 maybe.
Yeah. I was gonna say 690, 680.
Oh wow. Okay, so on the upper end of the 600.
Yes.
Okay, fixed wireless access.
Where are they at right now?
Over under 500,000.
Well, let me ask you this, because I haven't really kept up with FWA for T-Mobile. What was it, like 300,000 last quarter?
It was like 550.
550. Oh, damn. Okay, no, it's gonna be closer to 800,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
because
over under 800,000, you're over.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it could go, honestly, Chacha, with the amount of folks that I've been getting anecdotals from. They're being pushed fixed wireless so hard this last quarter. I even showed you the text that came in to the Chacha Los line, right? That it was about business fixed wireless, and I was like, what? They're marketing every single phone number that they have. They're pushing fixed wireless crazily. And then, didn't you mention that there's some special condition for retail employees, that any customer that comes into a retail store needs to be pitched the product and given a demo unit?
They're pushing it, bro.
Yeah.
All right, Moose. I got 680, 710,000. That's my window. I think 680 is like minimum. I think 710 is the max. The reason I pick that tight window is because I really do feel like it's going to be somewhere in there. And I don't even think that's going to be T-Mobile's highest quarter ever. I think there's going to be multiple quarters where they add 800,000 or more. You know, maybe starting like next quarter or the quarter after.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not a million.
Like, we're in the golden era. We're in the renaissance of T-Mobile's 5G home internet. It's going to be like a 2-year long renaissance where like every quarter is like 5, 6, 7, 800,000. Some quarters 500,000, some quarters 800,000. I don't see them ever doing 1 million in a quarter. But I do see them scratching 800,000 a couple of times, you know, and it's just crazy to think about that, because the fixed wireless subscriber uses more internet than a fiber customer. That's nuts, Moose.
Yep. The other thing that I was thinking, why does a fixed wireless customer use so much more? Like, why? It doesn't make sense. Is it because of the way that a wireless connection is coded, right? So it needs to pull so much more. It doesn't have a lot of encoding, right? Compression algorithms compared to cable, or maybe cable and fiber, they don't need the compression, right? They just are like, boom, there you go, take it as it is. It's a question mark.
Yeah, I wonder what it is. All right, guys, get your votes in as we close out the poll. Which carrier gets the 200 million pops of C-band first? The big stank, aka AT&T Death Star, or Hans, aka Gator Shoes, Verizon? Oh, I got you, Pete. Absolutely. All right, I didn't see many questions in the chat. I thought we were gonna get a few, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and close out the poll. We got 60 votes. The goal was to get to 50. We got 60. I could work with that. All right, make your final votes. 3, 2. Here it is, Moose. Which carrier gets to 200 million pops of C-band first? The Big Stank, 54%. Over Hans Gator Shoes, 45%. Wow. They think AT&T is going to get to 200 million pops first, man. Wow.
You know, that's why I was telling you, right, Sneed? It's yes, we both agree that the time, you start a marathon, what, 4 months ahead, or even 3 months ahead, right? You said 3 months ahead, right?
At least 3 months.
Right. At least 3 months ahead. You had your supply chain ready, and you had every single the cities that you said were on, they were on already as of January.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different than the AT&T method, which was start upgrading as quickly as possible every single site that you can, and then you do it like in a systematic view, right? First, the areas that need the capacity immediately, or how the cha-cha says, immediately. You give it to me immediately, right? The additional capacity. Phase 2, and we've looked at this, right, Cha-cha, right? We looked at how they did it, right? Show me every single site that we have in the market. Which ones can I get the permits for immediately, like right now? Phase 2 is, give me 1 second, hold on.
You know what I thought about the other day? Back in the day, engineers used to get like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 towers upgraded with hardware. They get all the radios and the antennas installed on all these sites in an area. And then they would, get all the programming done and all the RF configurations done. And then they would turn them all on at the same time. So literally people would who lived in the area, worked in the area, would wake up one morning and it'd be like a new cellular world. Because all these sites and all the neighboring cells would all be upgraded and turned on at the same time. So you wouldn't be like, oh, this tower site here is good, but this other one is out of date, old, and congested. Right? You would literally have stretches of miles of tower cell coverage just performing tip top, But now I feel like in 2022 and 2023, with the speed wars, with Ookla and root metrics and the marketing and the branding and the third-party testing and the existence of SneedMobile Tech and all these other channels that cover all these network performances, the pressure to turn on sites immediately is just forcing them to turn stuff on premature and then worry about the tuning. I literally feel like the engineers feel the pressure, man, to perform.
I mean, we saw the tuning live. Remember we were going back and forth even on FaceTimes, right? There was one site up. We were looking at the propagation. We looked how far it went, and it was only going a mile back then. And now look, it's going 7. Dude, in just a few months, it went 7x the performance in terms of range. That's big. But it's not stopping, right? There's always going to be enhancements, modifications, the new antenna that's going to have the combo, right? The 3.7 plus the 3.45 combo. And I'm sure that combo antenna is going to need the 3.1 in the future, right?
They'll have to go back. They'll have to go back to do that.
Now, here's the thing, though, right? And I was saying this to you a while back, right? And even today, the only reason why that poll seems somewhat like merit to it, right, is because, like, again, the example of Nebraska, every single site in Nebraska is ready for C-band right now. And we know from your experience, a Nokia upgrade only takes a few hours. They're gone in a few days, max, like 2 days.
I mean, because they've been at the site recently, like within the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, some of the first sites that were upgraded for FirstNet were done in 2018, 2019. You know, I was telling you that one day, Moose, like I woke up and all of a sudden AT&T was like faster than Verizon.
Yeah, you told me it went from like crawling to over 150
everywhere I went.
One night to another.
Yeah, everywhere I went, every single site. And then, of course, it started to slow down. Moose, AT&T's growing. We see the numbers every quarter. We could sit here and talk about how like fixed wireless access is going to kill the Verizon network and kill the T-Mobile network. But AT&T's growing in mobile, and they need the support too. They need the capacity. Their C-RAN is going to be really important, Moose. You know, AT&T is not afraid to do C-RAN. We've seen them do it.
Oh, yeah.
They've done it here.
Yeah.
They've done, you know, like it's commendable, right? They're doing, and they're putting everything on that freaking those things. All the radio frequencies are up, right? They're doing 14, they're doing 12. They're doing 2, they're doing 66. So all the standard stuff. I think it's only a matter of time till we see C-band in those radios and antennas. Moose, what do you think of this new hashtag?
Let me see.
Hashtag Verizon Consumer Group hates consumers.
They just need better leadership. They need to change Hans. Seriously. This is disastrous. Unbelievable.
Meanwhile, the big stank looks like a damn profit. The 2-year plan of execution. Mike Sievert looks like a damn profit. Everybody's hitting on all cylinders. Fixed wireless access is definitely hurting cable. They had their first bad quarter like ever because of fixed wireless access. Nikki, I really hope this isn't true. I need AT&T to continue with their C-RAN build. Where they do it well, their network is tremendous. You know, downtown Cleveland is exemplary. But yeah, I agree. I think Verizon, I mean, at least in my market, sheesh, man, they sure do know how to network here. Moose, did you burn the pizza in the oven again, Moose?
You heard the fire thing. I sent a very strongly worded text to since I'm in SoCal, right? I'm at my parents' house, and I said, "Can you guys ever pick a time where you don't burn something?" Dude, trust me, this is a constant occurrence in any household that makes food, unless you're one of those like on TikTok where you just literally don't season, don't do anything. Oh God, don't even get me started, man. Jesus. Yeah.
Moose, one hell of a show, man. Nice job, bro. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
All right, we're gonna do some hashtags. Hashtag replay crew, hashtag 2live crew, hashtag mod squad, hashtag members, hashtag Patreon. David had the good one. Hashtag Verizon Consumer Group hates consumers. Holy hell, that's a lot of characters. You guys are the best. Thanks for being the best part of the channel. The best part is the community. Like, share, and subscribe for more content. If it's your first time here, definitely hit the subscribe button. And if you want to support the channel directly, you could do so by becoming a member, getting early access to videos and exclusive features, perks, and add-ons. You can also do it with the Patreon page. There's a link in the description. You also have my Twitter handle if you want to engage with that community there. And that's pretty much it. Moose, we out this piece, man.
Thank you, man. We'll talk soon.